Kel the Quick here with another episode of Sounding Board. I'm here with Surrealism and Yonan.
Hey,
Hi.
Yeah, all right. So this week or month, whatever, I don't know time.
this time, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Surrealism, hit me. What do you got? What do you got? Give me something good.
All right. So, you know how in most fantasy settings for video games and RPG or in tabletop RPGs, that kind of thing, the world is chocked full of horrible monsters that people are relatively helpless against, yet somehow they're still the dominant species?
Birthright's not so different, but yeah.
Yeah, I think
Well,
so.
yeah, but then kobolds should be winning because they're canonically
Ah.
in the D&D monster manual. It says that they breed really fast and live really long,
And they're smart.
and they're only a little weaker than humans compared to everything else.
Yeah, really. If the human's power is ingenuity, then the kobolds have that and being able to breed faster.
Yeah,
Yeah, they really should be pushing us out.
not to mention the
Anyways.
size bonus.
Yeah.
So yeah, doesn't make any sense. So I thought to myself, well, what if we make a world where the civilizations that emerge actually reflect the threat level of the monsters around them? Like, what if people live in hidden caves and alcoves while terrible monsters rampage across the landscape, killing everything?
Reminds me of early Dark Souls, where the furtive pygmy that would become humanity was hiding inside of the caverns, but I guess they eventually would become human subjects in a city. So,
Yeah.
never mind.
Well, eventually, I mean, uh, if in this setting humans might take off in a few thousand years, but right now they're very much the furtive pygmies. And for an added bonus, let's throw in some Lovecraft grade look at them and go insane horrors, just so you know for sure you can't fight it.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
I like that. It's kind of difficult to communicate to players. Hey, don't fight that these days.
Yeah, well, the players are actually going to be able to, because whether this is a video game or a tabletop game, every class will represent one of humanity's solutions to being the weakest people. But, well, you have to look at what would bring humans to the level of strength that these monsters have, or allow them to actually fight them. I mean, uh, typical solutions would be magic or something, or holy powers. But there isn't any of that in this world. If there were anything looking out for, if there were benevolent gods or
The gods are
magic,
still hedging their bets. They're like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about these humans yet. I gotta hold out, see where they
no,
go.
the gods mostly haven't noticed humans, um,
Which is
because the
for the
gods
best.
are like, don't think Palor or Shiva or whatever. Think Cthulhu when you think about gods in this world.
Yog Sothoth, Nyarlathotep.
Yeah, most of them aren't capable of recognizing that humans are something other than, dust blowing in the wind. And the ones that are much worse because, well, they look at humans and they see something that either pests that need to be exterminated, resources that can be utilized, or in the best and worst case, a novelty to be guarded.
Yeah.
That's where this idea originally came to me. An elder god, horrible creature that actually likes humanity and is trying to help them.
It's kind of like in the Call of Cthulhu setting they use, which is sourced from not only Lovecraft's work, but also some of the people that followed him in writing. The most deities don't notice us, such as Yog Sothoth and Azathoth, which are incredibly powerful beings that are amorphous blobs that are mostly kept in check by the fact that they don't really have ambitions. They just kind of act. And if their attentions are ever pushed on the earth, then the earth would be destroyed. Cthulhu is dormant because he's dead, but death doesn't really stop them. Whereas
David
things that pay
Death
attention to
died.
humanity are things like Nyarlathotep pays attention to humanity because it's mildly amusing for him to take the form of humans and other things and manipulate people into doing terrible things because, I don't know. And Bastet, I think, protects humans because, just why not? So,
All right.
at best, you're either a pawn in some kind of thing that moves in dimensions you can't even perceive, or are kind of like I don't know, Bastet, you're kind of like a house cat. Actually, no. House cats have agency. Never mind.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
So what I'm picturing here is a a great old one whose domain, if you can call it that, is light, but not like happy cleansing light. Think more like Cherenkov radiation.
Yeah, all right, I like it.
So you've got paladins, sort of people who have gazed upon the face of this great old one who's trying to help them and have gained some of its power. But the more they use it, the more radioactive they become. That's an example of what I'm thinking for the classes in this world. They're all really horrible.
In order to survive this long night, you have to take on aspects of the things that are out there.
Yeah, or I mean, that's probably how most of them are going to work. But if we want to do some weird science,
Oh,
add in
totally. Stealing
people-
the devices of of those creatures. I mean, in Lovecraft, they had a race that was sort of like um, on humanity's level than like there's not just elder gods. There's also the Migo, which are just an alien race that is on Earth because research. And like their basic technology is stuff we can't even conceive of. And so, I guess if you could find a way to kick Amigo in the non-existent genes and steal their lightning gun, you could probably do something.
Yeah, well, send one of your paladins after them and then take their stuff. Send an archaeology team behind that one guy out of 50 who can actually fight monsters, because he's already gone crazy enough from getting his powers that he doesn't go insane when he looks at the average denizens of this world.
Right, so that guy. Let's talk about that guy. He seems interesting. Like what? Like
The paladin
yeah,
or
well,
the archaeology
the
team?
guy that Surrealism just mentioned.
Yeah, that's the paladin.
Yeah. So in this world, like, how did he get his powers? Because from what I understand, paladins normally get their powers from deities, but no deity gets
did.
shit.
He got it from this one deity who finds humans bizarre and fascinating.
Oh.
Uh, it's just that it's not really a happy arrangement for the humans, because the way the thing that interests this deity is the idea of self-sacrifice, because it doesn't understand it. It understands self-preservation and recognizes that behavior in humans, but sees some that don't preserve the self, and so it likes to look at them. And when it looks at you, well, it does what any great old one's attention does and really fucks you up.
Your body starts becoming radioactive, like almost like a parallel to the paladin in D&D. They don't get sick. They can't be like infested with pathogens.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're sterile as hell.
Yeah, totally. Oh my
Bacteria
god.
cannot live in this person's body. Unfortunately, his lay of hands ability just grows flesh back, so your wound is gone, but there's a tumor there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it looks all closed and nice, but it's just skin. Like where your spleen was, it's a knot of skin.
So, I mean,
You're gonna die.
yeah, just you've got a wow, depending on where the wound was and how bad it was.
Yeah, it's like flesh crafting.
So yeah, so on the one side of it, well, not flesh crafting, because these are not the people who understand flesh.
That's true. That's more like a warlock thing, or like
Yeah,
a
and
dark
we'll
angel
get to that.
structure. We'll get there.
So yeah, the thing with the paladins is that having stared into the face of this great old one that is genuinely trying to help them and learn about them, it destroys everything in their mind that could have been hurt by facing down the monsters of this world.
So no fear is like brain damage.
Yeah, and
That actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Jesus.
yeah,
Oh, actually, if you damaged the part of the brain that feels fear, it would also massively damage the part of your brain that detects pain. So that would
that
actually
too.
work,
Yeah,
too.
which is good because you are riddled with tumors, many of which are probably agonizing. So yeah, that part of their mind is destroyed. They don't really think like humans anymore, but there's still enough of them there that some of them even still enjoy life to some capacity.
Right, they're revered as heroes. They're the people that can walk through the dark. I mean, I kind of dig that because I remember when we played D&D and we'd talk to each other. You used to criticize that paladins you should pay more attention to the fact they have alien thought processes now, that they don't feel fear, because fear
Yeah,
is a vital
It
part
does
of being
specify
human.
they are immune even to non-magical fear.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
So
make you different.
a paladin can't think, God, what if I'm a terrible person?
What? What? So he just keeps drinking. Hey, dude, stop!
Well, he's immune to poison, so
I'm so thirsty though. That's pure vodka.
whatever.
It just tastes like water to me, bro. You're weird.
Have you ever wondered if we're the real monsters? No, my God destroyed the part of me that could wonder about that.
No, we're not. We're clearly defined as not being monsters.
It said right
Yeah,
here in the memo.
No, it said my holy light specifically destroys any enemies of humanity, and it's not destroying me. In fact, I feel better than ever.
I feel amazing.
Dude, your eye tumor is growing again. Can you still see out of that one?
Because
No, I should cut it off. Hang on.
It's because Papa Nurgle loves me.
Oh,
Yeah.
would paladins be bald? I guess they would be. Or maybe.
Eventually, as they level, the stronger a paladin is, the weirder he would look, because the more radioactive he is and cancerous he is.
It's like the end of the movie The Stand, where what's his name, the crazy guy comes back with it. Wait a minute, I haven't thought about that movie in forever, and now I realize that guy was all mutated and Mad Max and like looking, and you just carrying a nuclear bomb. They really shouldn't be doing that to him.
Yeah, it's
Well,
like,
obviously the containment was partially breached.
it's like that other movie, the schizophrenic homeless guy with the sunglasses.
Oh, you mean They Live?
Maybe.
Oh
I
man,
haven't
that
seen
movie
it.
was awesome. Oh, he wasn't actually schizophrenic.
Yeah, it was.
Well, maybe.
Just like that poor
Actually-
girl in Pam's Labyrinth. Yeah.
There's evidence for both
Sacred.
interpretations of
Sacred.
that.
What was that ridiculously bad mental institution movie with all the fight scenes?
Shutter Island.
No.
I don't know, mental institution movies.
Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch.
Oh
Yeah.
my God,
Off of,
yeah.
So
Cabin
that
of
was
Dr.
just
Caligari.
insanity.
Yeah, it was. It was all in her mind. Screw that shit.
It would have been really clever if it wasn't all in her mind.
Yeah, that would have been funny. Or if the mental institution is what she's envisioning with when she's dealing with post-traumatic stress from the war she just fought.
That would actually have been really clever, because as it was, it felt like a remake of a movie from the 1920s.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was pretty bad.
Pretty bad, yeah.
Just hate the whole, like, oh, the main character, look at this is their storyline. Oh, then like the ending twist is like, spoilers by the way, for Sucker
Oh,
Punch.
like that was a spoiler. Come on.
Yeah, well, I didn't see it coming, but I don't watch every single movie that ever came out, Jonan. Not everybody has your or friggin' Surrealism's amazing power of seeing the future. You guys consume all media, so
Look,
of course you're going to see the patterns. Not everybody does.
I'm incredibly gullible when I watch movies. I didn't predict that the twist of Meet the Robinsons. And
Look, I don't think any of our three listeners are going to watch Sucker Punch because it's a terrible movie.
It's
And
no
amazing.
watch Sucker Punch.
Not many people watched it when it was new.
Just watch the movie Heavy Metal if you want to watch really cool shit happen that doesn't really have a whole lot to do other than cheesecake and like
So-
violence.
What really pissed me off about the movie is that the twist at the end was, oh, the main character's story is not about them. They're dead now, bye.
That was the main twist of Final Fantasy X too.
Yeah, but nobody played that.
Was
Cause
the main twist of JoJo's? Well, no, actually, never mind. It wasn't. I was gonna say
All
the
right,
main
so
character
back
dies.
to our cancer paladins.
oh yeah, Cancer
It's
Paladins.
paladins. Actually, kind of reminds me a little bit of Invokers. Remember Invokers in 4th edition?
Hey, back to our Cancer Paladins.
Go ahead. Sorry, true naming.
True name. No, Invokers had this shtick where they had a fragment of their god inside their head, or something like that.
Yeah, all right. That's fucked
One
up.
of the powers you could get was based upon, during a secret ritual, you gazed upon the face of your deity, and it allowed you to do some kind of big radiant thing.
Yeah, and
It's-
imagine now if your holy powers were all based on your humanity being destroyed.
Oh,
The biggest power the paladins get is the ability to comprehend the knowledge that man was not meant to have. You know?
I think we should elaborate more on countermeasures people use towards that sanity check. I mean, we'd see the paladins, they have that part of their brain burned out. Wizards, is the suffrage of sanity a part of their wizardry? I mean, like, because in Call of Cthulhu, the more Cthulhu Mythos skill you have, the more you know about the Eldritch horrors. But each point of Cthulhu Mythos you gain permanently destroys some of your sanity. And even if you have 100 Cthulhu Mythos and 0 sanity, you still don't know everything, because it's like saying that a cup of water can never take the entire contents of the ocean. It's like, yeah, you got a lot, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
okay.
But like, you need Cthulhu Mythos knowledge and lost sanity in order to cast spells in Call of Cthulhu, because you need to understand what you're looking at. But understanding what you're looking at so fundamentally changes the way that you perceive the world now that you are no longer what we call sane.
Okay, so let's say we have 3 general classes here. We've got our paladins, who are functionally warlocks who are being helped out of curiosity and benevolence rather than deal making. But they're still making a pact with an eldritch horror to gain power.
Right.
At the end of the day. Then you have the genuine warlocks, who are making a pact with an eldritch horror to gain power, and that horror is probably either mostly ignoring them, or I guess maybe it's one of the lesser powers that can notice people without destroying them.
Right. What I would do is probably go kind of fey with regards to that, and say that that pact makes sense if we can provide some kind of service that might not make sense to us with our understanding of physics, but like to them it's valuable.
Okay, so let's say that there are probably a bunch of different kinds of warlock based on what kind of creature you're making
totally,
a deal with and the nature of your deal. But
right.
Broadly, there are people who get weird powers based on contact with an eldritch horror, and one of the first parts of that deal is one of the only universal parts of the deal is the ability to understand things that the human mind can't, which of course makes you alien and weirder than other people.
Right. The loss of sanity is more because you understand more of the world and you can no longer relate to normal people.
Yeah, so it's kind of a given that if you are playing this game, you're one of the people who says that I'm not insane, I just understand the world, and that looks like madness to you.
Right. Well, varying degrees.
Yeah.
Like, I think the paladin is more like,
I have seen the face of my god, and and the burden of it shapes me.
No, I for a second pictured a eldritch horror, like, kind of paladin voiced by Patrick Waterburn going, yeah, no, I just don't think about it.
Yeah.
Actually, now that you say it like that, surrealism, like, I've seen the face of my God and its burden shapes me. I'm pretty sure that's what happened with Moses and the Ten Commandments.
Oh yeah, that's right.
With,
he like aged afterwards.
Jewish mythology, like God was trying to, or Yahweh was trying to deliver all of the command. Yeah, true naming God himself. Yahweh was delivering, like, hey guys, these are the rules, and like he got 10 out, and everyone was like, I cannot comprehend this. Moses, can you like go take care? Can you write these down for us, please? We can't handle this shit. God's voice is too godly.
Right. I if I recall, I'm not really read up on the Talmud very well, but when he came back down from the mountain, he was all like, his hair was gray now, and like he looked different somehow. Yeah. And I know, because a lot of UFO conspiracy theorists are like, oh, that's clearly proof that he was talking to aliens. Like, okay. Honestly, you can get a whole lot of eldritch shit out of biblical stuff.
Yeah.
And
Angels,
alien
man.
Conspiracy theorists. Yeah, no, Old Testament descriptions of angels probably are the servants of this creature.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
wheels within
the
wheels.
seven-faced dragon, like...
Well, there's one of them shaped like wheels within wheels rotating, and the wheels are covered in eyes.
Yeah,
I mean,
all right.
Jesus, what the
We'll
hell
bring
is
up
that?
some of those.
Sorry, I went back in time and brought some 40k fanfics with me. Whoops. That explains a lot.
All right, so those are the paladins. The warlocks vary a lot. One group I wanted to do function a lot like druids in other games where they have the turn into animals ability. But the thing is, in order to turn into an animal, they have to make their flesh, like, they basically turn into an amoeba and eat one to understand it.
It's kind of like a more eldritch version of how you turn into animals in Exalted, the Lunars have to consume the animal that they're turning into, but just add in an extra layer of Shoggoth.
Yeah, like you basically are always one of those creeping chaos abominations. It's just that as part of your deal, you can still retain your human form.
Yeah, you got to eat yourself.
Yeah, that was the first form I consumed.
Yeah, okay. Actually, you turn into a little flesh phylactery in the center of your body and possess your own meat sack.
Actually, no, that reminds me a lot of Prototype.
So there you go.
Yeah,
so that's one of the classes.
They're so cool.
Yeah, Prototype, the way they also did was transforming appendages into various spiky things.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, you'd like turn your arm into a blade. I think you had like a limit break where if you had enough biomass in your body, you could shoot tentacle spikes everywhere.
All right, so say you turn into animals as your default, but if you want to use a bunch of whatever kind of energy you have, you can just attack directly with your flesh mass.
Right, or you can even cast from hit points. I mean, I imagine they'd be tanky.
So I kind of imagine most classes cast from hit points
That's
in this world. Like, I think when the paladin uses Holy Smite, he just gives up a point of whatever a con is.
Well, I can see this warlock needing to consume more biomass, kind of like Dead Space style.
Yeah, definitely. That's probably their only source of regen.
Warlock needs the druid needs to go hunting.
So the Great Old One who does that deal needs to be cultivating an enormous pile of human flesh and like breeding humans in captivity to add to it.
Makes sense. Biomass. And convert biomass into biomass he can use.
And he's trying to, I don't know, make a child out of it. He's trying to make another one of himself.
Oh, well, as long as it's not a spaceship that looks like a cuttlefish, I think we'll be fine.
No, I don't think
wonderful cuttlefish
in this universe need ships.
Oh.
All right, now let's talk wizards.
All right.
Would wizards technically be the thieves that were stealing the devices?
Yes.
I suddenly had that right. I was like, oh man, yeah.
Yup. That's exactly what I was going for.
So with the wizard, that's more of the comprehension through self-study of the supernatural.
Yeah, and all their weird machinery, which some of it's technology, some of it's magic, some of it's ambiguous. So the wizard's basic solution to not being able to understand things is the familiar. He takes an inhuman mind and expands it to be able to keep the knowledge he can't.
Oh, that's actually... And then you commune with it to kind of translate it into something you can comprehend?
Yeah, and then he's understanding how he doesn't understand things by trying to explain things to the more primitive mind.
Yeah, that way the wizard ends up with a mind that can understand the horror terrors and a mind that can understand humanity.
That's kind of cool. I like the idea of the familiar talking like some kind of weird have you ever like it's like one of those like possessed creatures that speaks in riddles only, but we'll have them speaking in riddles only because it's like a fragmented like consciousness made out of forced awareness onto a mind not made to handle it.
Yeah, and then one of the primary ways a wizard upgrades is by getting a better familiar that is more able to understand things. At base level, it's just an animal that he tinkered with, right? And at the end, it's a lesser eldritch horror.
It gives you slightly less ambiguous answers, or less unintentionally ambiguous answers.
Yeah, like a level 20 or whatever the max ability rank is. You just are fused with Amigo. And you're not sure which one of you thought of that anymore.
Which one am I?
Whose idea was this? Which one of us is the dominant person?
I don't remember anymore, man.
And then it becomes your phylactery and your lich. It just happens.
I actually am picturing a low-level familiar having like some kind of weird mechanical device clamped to its head.
100%, yeah.
Or like one of those like Clockwork Orange like head devices with the eyes pried open.
Yeah.
On a squirrel.
And the wizard probably has to avoid, like, whenever monsters are around, I think the wizard would just blind himself and have a seeing eye familiar.
You could look through goggles, kind of like the Dwemer from Elder Scrolls.
Maybe, but that might work for some of the lesser stuff. But
Right.
I mean, there are an awful lot of things that just destroy your mind outright on sight in the Lovecraft mythos, which this
Right.
is drifting pretty close to.
Well, I would say at the
Hell,
lower
it's
level, for
public
one
domain.
thing, we have an excuse for goggles now, which is cool.
True.
So at the lower levels, you have goggles, and then if you want to like focus more on that path, you start upgrading them with the shit like I took eye tissue I cultivated from a flesh harvester.
No, wait. I traded eyes with my familiar.
Oh my god, that's awesome!
So I have one of my familiar's eyes and it has one of mine, and we just closed the non-relevant one.
Oh, that's kind of Faustian. I dig it.
Yeah.
Slowly we become one.
It goes with the whole merging with the Migo thing.
Yeah, so every way that humans can fight back against all these horrible monsters and actually defend themselves involves either becoming like them or, at the very least, giving up their humanity in some other direction.
You could also, if you wanted to add an additional class, the martial class, because some of us like playing boring fighters.
Other than the
Make 'em-
paladin.
Yeah, well, other than the paladin, well, you have a martial class that's a soldier who has been given flesh grafts. Kind of like make like a Shadowrun style like cyborg, but instead of like robot parts, you're putting on like arm with claw on
No,
it.
wait, I got it.
Oh.
Alien abductee. This just happens sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
It just comes
Oh.
back and it can fight.
Yeah. And,
Oh, yeah, that's another way that things can be benevolent to us. Or maybe not. Maybe they're collecting data. I don't know.
yeah. Or a lot of people think this is just a changeling. It's a plant sent to live among humans, which is why they end up getting kicked out of their community and have to go adventuring, usually.
Yeah.
Man, it's not
This
easy being green.
An adventuring party in this world is not a group that's welcome in the tavern.
What a twist.
God damn it.
You go to the edge of town and you have to decide whether you want to force them to give you supplies or if you want to just suck
so
up.
instead of going, like getting to a town and be like, time to relax at the end. It's new town. Let's plan the attack.
You know, you could actually kind of do it like, actually, this reminds me a little bit of Witcher, where
hell yeah.
Geralt is seen as kind of an abomination due to mutating himself with these alchemy reagents, but Witchers have the required super speed and super strength and super perception in order to fight monsters, so he kind of operates more like a chimney sweep, where he goes to someone and says, like, 200 orens and I'll take care of this monster problem. And they're like, all right, go do it, you freak.
Yeah,
like,
pretty much.
Sticks a monster's head on his belt to show that he's done what he's done and gets paid some money.
Yeah, and then you're way stronger than normal people. So at some point, it's more like, hey, I kill monsters for you. Give me what I want,
Right.
or I'll stop. If I'm
You lied
feeling
to me.
generous, I'll
Dragons
stop.
don't hoard gold at all. You guys are liars.
You know what actually might be interesting? I know that this is like what kept the sanity thing. The more sanity you lose, the harder it is to interact with the people in the town.
Yeah, sanity is your charisma stat.
And we can't make you dump it because you see you're actually going to gradually lose it as you go.
You gotta spend it on the way. It's like you're going on a one-way trip and you only get supplies once.
Yep.
That's actually kind of awesome. I like that.
It's pretty metal.
And then, wizards lose it. So paladins lose a bunch up front, but lose it really slowly.
Mhm.
Wizards lose very little up front, but lose it pretty rapidly as they get stronger.
Because they're the only ones without any like supernatural buffer. They've had to make their own buffers.
Yeah. And I think to reach the highest level of power, warlocks have to hit 0.
And changeling fighters, it's more like I think
No, you just have a dash.
with changeling fighters, I think you get more and more penalties as you actually no dash is thematically appropriate with the fighter's role. No, it's actually kind of interesting. Changeling fighters are ironically the ones that kind of keep much of their mental faculties. Normally, it's mostly PTSD. But they're the ones that are probably initially the ones that you really feel creeped out talking to, just because it's like, oh, this guy's got like his arms are writhing.
Okay, so I had a little bit of an idea. It might be a little bit of a tangent, but you're talking. So like you got this adventuring group, and you know how like all the ancient stories like Gilgamesh, it's all about like the big strong warrior dude being kick ass and stuff.
Right.
Now, what if that's because his companions are all these weird fuckers that nobody wants to write stories about? So, like, the warrior is all like, he still has his ability to interact with society.
Yeah, he's the one who told the story.
Because he's all like, yeah, man, I totally went and I caught that fish and it was this big, then it tried to eat me and I ate it right the fuck back. And like, he's the one doing
having a level 1 hireling or a commoner hireling just to do all of your socialization for you.
Can you go into the town and get this stuff for us?
Here's the shopping list.
Will you tell me the dark secret? No, I want you to be able to go into the town and get us stuff. I can't tell you the dark secret.
I wonder if, like, former adventures...
Will you tell me the dark secret? No, every time I talk to you, you flinch because it erodes your sanity. Ah!
Well, you have to just stop moving 3 of your tongues.
I don't know what that means.
But I'm wondering if former adventurers ever settle down and make kind of like towns of the damned. That'd be kind of cool.
I think maybe they might try, but sooner or later they go berserk and start eating people.
Yeah, it sounds like Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Cool.
Like so it's less like a town and more like Firelink Shrine.
Yeah. A leper colony.
Oh.
Oh yeah, that's right. We had those in real life.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just a place where you go to kill time, where no one will judge you while you wait to die.
Sometimes I forget about, contemporary diseases that we've all but eliminated. Thanks, vaccines.
Yeah.
Though leprosy is not something we can vaccinate against. It's just something that hygiene protects against really well.
Yeah, not to mention we have antibiotics.
Hard to get, actually. Yes, but that only keeps it in remission. We cannot cure it.
Oh, really?
Or at least we couldn't when I took immunology like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think we just put it in remission. I also think I'm getting off tangent here. I was going to say I think you need to be genetically susceptible to leprosy to be at higher risk of contracting it.
I don't know.
Maybe that's one of the side effects of knowing the dark secrets.
Some people are just better at receiving the dark secrets.
Yeah, and get more
that's
leprous.
Genuine. That's definitely true. But yeah, I don't know.
I like the feeling of having to like wrestle what little power you have out of things instead of just being born different.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that bothers me in most tabletop settings. It's like the world doesn't look like it would look like if everyone was a commoner but you. But in this world it does. It's just there's no such there's like one human city that isn't hidden, and it's where that god of radioactive light lives.
Right, because his paladins protect the city.
Yeah.
They're creepy sentinel faces.
Yep. And I'm thinking that when a paladin, if a paladin lives long enough without getting a sudden surge of radiation and dying, or being eaten by monsters, I think they might become, they might have some ascended form.
Kind of like, I think just Dystopia Rising to something like that with their paladins, where their paladins can eventually kind of like shed part of their mortal coil, and now they're like radiant beings.
See, I'm thinking more like a big tumor.
Yeah, I went the tumor route as
with
well.
a face.
Oh, like Corpus.
Corpus disease. So they go to the cathedral at the center of the city and, plop themselves down in a tomb and then just dispense wisdom to initiates until they wear out.
You go to a confessional booth and start talking. At the end of it,
cool.
Little tendril pokes through and then blesses you.
Yeah, kind of reminds me of Dreadnoughts in the 40K back in the old lore.
Except without the combat ability.
Let's they kind of lose that as they get older. They get crazy. They're just kind of like, okay, you're gonna go to sleep now, old Dreadnought. We'll wake you up if we need you to tell stories to the kids. No, we're not letting you on the field of battle again. You know what you did.
In my defense, it was just the Imperial Guard.
The excuse only works once a millennia. Go to sleep.
We totally need to call that tomb the Great Library.
I do like a good library.
Yeah, and it's just, instead of books, it's a bunch of paladins who lived long enough to become abominations.
Become monks.
This pleases Aurelia.
That's kind of cool. I mean, these tumorous repositories of knowledge. I don't know. I don't know what it's reminding me of, but it's very cool. It's neat.
So I'm thinking the light god probably has an alliance with the flesh abomination god, because ultimately they're both all about protecting humanity.
At least an understanding of each other or awareness.
Like, they're definitely not willing to attack each other.
Oh,
I'm
I had
thinking
an,
now and then a paladin visiting the city gets eaten, or visiting the flesh crafter city gets eaten, and now and then a flesh crafter visiting the paladin city gets, I don't know, reborn or born again.
Oh, here's an idea. You said that there are some of the eldritch abominations that have their attention on us, are like Nyarlathotep, where they manipulate people. You could make another city out there that behaves much like Dark City.
Dark City?
Did you ever see that movie?
No.
I did.
Okay,
I don't
we'll
remember a
watch that
damn
movie at
thing.
some point. I'm gonna summarize it in a way that doesn't spoil stuff, but more or less, there's a city where it's being constantly monitored by these like really, really pale, bald guys wearing suits that have weird supernatural powers, and they're just kind of manipulating events subtly and observing humans, and it's kind of implied that they're like manipulating our like memories and our like very like way of interacting with each other just to kind of figure out what makes us us. Like you have a city that's like sort of like it's a bustling city that's still alive, but it's kind of patrolled by these agents of this eldritch abomination that are not working
Okay.
in our best interest.
Also, in that city, no one is allowed to talk about the outside world, and no one's allowed to admit that monsters are real.
Oh yeah, no. Oh, ooh. Oh my God, it's a neutralized control group
Yeah,
by
so if your party
Nyarlathotep.
visits there, no one's allowed to look directly at you, and they can't mention any of your weird defects.
Oh my God, that would be so cool. That's awesome.
But of course, they have their own subtle ways of trying to get rid of you because you're still terrifying.
Well, their city's full of these infiltratory assassin guys that run things behind the scenes.
Yeah, and now and then you like you go to the tavern, and uh, the barkeep goes a little too far in describing why he wants you to leave.
We don't take you
Mentions
kindly
that,
or your type around here.
yeah, but that's too close to acknowledging that something is wrong. And the next day, you find him crucified in front of his bar. And then the day after that, he's back, completely healthy and with no memory of any of that.
Oh my God, that's awesome. No, no, no. The next day, there's a new barkeep there who has all the memories of the old barkeep.
Yeah, all right, and the same name, and
The same name, and
everyone
the same,
pretends he's the same person, but
but
are
he's
clearly
different.
terrified.
He's different physically.
Yeah,
Like,
It's changed.
it's
oh my
clearly a
God.
different person, and everyone's pretending.
And he thinks that he is the barkeep. Oh
So
my
yeah,
God.
if you ever pry into the secrets of the city, you'll find out that the people running this place um, are deliberately leaving people with their memories intact enough to know something is wrong because it's funny to them.
I do like it when people do things because it's funny.
Like they think it's hilarious that all the humans are too scared to admit that that guy died.
Oh. So it's actually kind of interesting because there's a level cap on interacting with the city. That's kind of cool. Like, this is a cool intrigue-based setting with an enforced level limit.
Yeah.
I dig
Because
it.
the higher level you get, the weirder you get. Oh, also, since this is as good a time to bring it up as any, I think I've been thinking about tabletop systems and die rolling systems.
Yeah,
Mhm.
all right.
Uh,
Had a couple ideas rolling in my head as well.
So-
Rolling.
Mostly that joke.
so a normal system is um, you roll a die or a set of dice, and you either have a higher modifier or you get to roll more dice to represent that you're better at something.
Yep.
And I was thinking, what if we had a static bonus to represent you're better at something like normal, but then you also get the die you roll is determined by how many random variables are involved in what you're trying to do.
Yeah, that
So
sounds cool.
You roll a die 4. I mean, if you're dueling someone in a flat arena and you're both using the same weapon and are using the same fighting style, it's like, that's a flip a coin situation. You roll a die 2 and your modifiers determine everything else.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, if you're using a sword, they're using a great axe, you're on a ship in a storm, and there are a bunch of people fighting around you, and one of you is blind in one eye and the other one's missing a foot, then you're probably rolling a die 20.
So the more complicated it gets, the larger. Oh,
Time
that
to
way
break
we
out
can
the
have
die 30.
people failing. Interesting.
The the more things are going on, the more random the outcome is.
Well, you
Yeah.
would think that you would roll a larger die if the outcome is less likely to fail, and you'd roll a smaller die if things are more up in the air.
Well, okay, so surrealism. In this instance, like the opposition roll would also be using the same die, so that would be canceled out, right?
If it's an opposition roll, yes, but sometimes it's against a static DC, and if, like, say you're trying to pick a lock with a DC of 30, and you're in a very controlled circumstance, and nothing unusual is happening, and your skill isn't high enough to pick that lock, then you probably won't be able to. But if a bunch of crazy shit is happening, there's a slim chance that something random will work in your favor.
Okay.
All right. I was
Like,
going to say,
maybe
if you're
it'll
rolling
turn
a
out that
d4, you have a 1 in 4 chance of getting a 1.
maybe it'll turn out that the storm, or that the lock, I don't know, got enough salt water on it to rust in a way that allows the tumbler that was giving you trouble to break.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking something like give people a static bonus so that I don't know. If you're rolling a d20, then you don't get a. All right. You get a static bonus that, when added to the maximum or value on the die, adds up to 20, maybe, or adds up to 15.
Okay, so like if you had a die. Okay, so like just working with 1 to 10 here. If you had your skill of 5 and you were going to roll a die 10, then you'd roll a die 10. But if you're going to roll a die 4, you'd be your skill of 10 or 5 plus 6 plus the die 4.
Yeah. Though
Right.
I would like it if the more random values had a slim chance of going higher than the static values.
Yeah, that can be done.
Yeah.
We can get a guy on a chart. I'll get the chart guy on it.
Oh yeah, we'll get Thor to look at it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're working in really controlled circumstances, you don't have that 1 in 20 chance of failing no matter what you're doing, which always frustrated me. And at some point, unless a bunch of crazy shit is happening, when two people fight, the better fighter usually wins.
I know Deadlands actually had kind of a really cool system that was similar to that. In Deadlands, your stats are determined by drawing poker cards, and the number on your card determines what size dice you roll for that stat. Like if you drew a 10 for your strength, then you roll d12s for your strength. And then the suit determines how many dice you roll for that stat. Like if you get a 5 of hearts, you might roll 4d6 and you choose the highest.
All right.
I don't quite know how it stacks up, but it was definitely interesting. It definitely made it like two men could be of the same strength, but one guy was more reliable at being that good at that much strength.
Okay.
I don't know, it was definitely an interesting way of doing it.
Yeah.
And I liked stat generation with a deck of cards just because it was very thematically appropriate for a game where casters cast spells by playing poker with death.
Okay, so talking about themes, what other stuff should exist in this setting to be thematically appropriate for a world that is terrifying and horrible, but humans have become mean enough to survive?
What kind of things exist in the setting? Let's see. Well, you need some method of cultivating food.
Fair enough. I guess not every society can be hunter-gatherers, since we've already established at least 2 cities exist.
Right. Not to mention the fact that people who go out and hunt and gather are kind of
hard
well.
fucking core. Well, actually, I
That's
think they're mostly just really, really sneaky.
Maybe they're good at scavenging, and they just scavenge the things the giant horrors kill.
Some of them probably do, but
Like, you find one blue whale killed by accident by some horror, and you're good for a while.
yeah, but half the time its flesh turns into a bunch of spiders and eats you.
Yeah, well, so eat them the fuck back.
actually having a city
I don't know if
founded
it's-
inside of the carcass of a fallen god would be kind of cool.
Yeah,
Kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy.
yeah, and all of those other things that
In
do
Sunless Sea, yeah.
It's like a whale fall. Yeah, it's major ecology. Like if you go to that city, every major tool they have is made out of bones and um,
All right, but let's put a twist on that and say that the god is dead but regenerating, and that's why their resources are renewable. And if they stop mining for long enough, it will come back to life and they'll all die.
So the whole town's effort is in keeping.
Yeah, they're trying to keep it dead, but also trying to harvest supplies, which is why their stuff is all really cheap because they need it to get hauled away to make room.
What if the different human civilizations here? So right now I'm imagining some sort of, I don't know, kind of like Morrowind or Skyrim thing where there's different cities of distinct cities. And so we have our different human civilizations, and all of them live inside the fallen carcass of a god, but there's always a different story behind it. So the one light-giving god, that's just one of his bodies that he gave to his children, and this
or
other guy.
he just let them move into him.
Yeah.
Oh, but then wouldn't everyone be radioactive?
Well, a little bit. There's a lot of
Yeah,
bananas.
but the radiation... Yeah, I don't know. Maybe everyone in that city is, but also I don't think everyone lives in a city, because I think... I'm picturing most humans being stealth-based.
Yeah,
Like
but
stealth
these-
people living in caves.
The corpses of the old gods would be the safest places to build a civilization when it's the nice ones.
Well, I don't think it happens frequently enough. I don't think that living inside of the radioactive god is a good idea.
Yeah,
But
I think...
First of all, I just said that sentence. Second of
Yeah,
all,
but maybe it's like an old corpse and it's not radioactive anymore. So
No,
it's just
but
his
no,
old bones.
no, but I'm saying
Nah.
it makes the sacrifice of the paladin a lot less awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to say no to the radioactive god, but yes, there should be a few different civilizations living inside horror terrors that died.
Yeah, and
because that's just... People are desperate and willing to try crazy shit in this world.
I'm seeing a lot of people eating lichen and cultivated fungus in the caves. I'm even seeing a
But
situation
underground
for
horrors
quests
are
for the
pretty bad.
player getting material to help humans grow the cave fungus. Like if you soak it in enough blood from this creature, humans have learned that it makes the cave fungus able to sustain life with nutrients.
Yeah, or maybe they found maybe they do alchemy on some monster remains to make super fertilizer.
Yeah, totally.
Go hunt these monsters. We need to juice them. But cut off the following parts cut off all the parts listed here. I'd tell you what it says, but the last guy who tried to read it went insane and stabbed his eyes out.
He translated 2 parts at the same time and spent a week in the hospital.
So yeah, cut these parts off. They will drive us insane if we see them.
Oh man,
Really? But that's just a squeedly spooch.
just catch us on fire.
Just words of power. Can kill a man with but a word. You mean squeedly spooch? Ah!
Words that kill.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
No, I like that, especially because it creates a situation wherein the player characters are able to sustain the towns, but they're not the sole source of the town. Like, if they're just providing fertilizer, then it's not like, well, how's a player going to be able to harvest enough flesh if all we eat is the monster flesh? It's like, oh no, we use that to grow more food, so 1 pound of flesh gets us a large yield. So it makes they're able to be fewer adventurers.
You need
but
3
still.
bags of bat guano.
Okay. So they still need some way to protect these crops, and I'm thinking that the human racial ability is just going to be stealth.
Yeah.
Like halflings.
Because normally humans live their entire lives trying to go unnoticed by monsters. So they have, hidden... or actually, come to think of it, a lot of the monsters wouldn't really be interested in crops, so as long as they didn't see a farmer working it, they wouldn't bother.
Farmers all wear ghillie suits.
Yeah.
Either that or, like if you live in some areas, it might be like, we put a bunch of orange squares in this farm because the orange squares contrasting with the patterns of the farm induces blindness in this creature. Really? Yeah, it's
You
weird.
think.
We
They don't
haven't died yet.
there's
That's
orange
been
squares
working.
here.
Other places, they train animals, like they train the ox to walk in the plowing pattern or without them.
Nice.
Other places plant crops explicitly to lure in the locusts, which, when candied, are delicious.
Nice.
All right, the locust crop is almost done.
How do you know? The crops look terrible. Oh, you can hear them. That
Wait,
coming.
what?
They might actually trade in some of like the spoiled and rotten foods. There's a whole economy, and players could even be traders, or traders could hire players to protect their caravans.
I think it would be very sensible for players to be mercantile based because they're the only people who can move freely between communities.
But remember, they lose charisma the higher level they get. So it's more
True.
like,
Yeah, but they
But
have that.
I guess
that guy.
it's that dwindling flame thing. That's what makes the whole gothic horror of it, is that you're never going to make a great legacy of a trader empire. Like at best, you're that guy who did some pretty cool stuff, but
Yeah, and at best, I mean, in the end, you're that weird hunched over guy selling curios, and then his shop is gone when you turn around.
Yeah, I like it.
I like it.
That's your end game if you're a warlock. This is not about the end game. The end game is just how you die.
Wait, so is this like Mushishi, where like you run around getting cool stuff and then you go sell it?
If you play it that way, sure.
Totally.
Cool.
Also, kind of like Corruption of Champions, of all things. If anyone's ever played that,
You've told me about it.
all right.
So
It's one of those things where, like, by consuming the flesh of enemies, you take on more of their traits. But there's a bad end for eating too much of something. Like, if you eat too much of the thing that makes you take on horse-like traits, the bad end is you become a non-sentient horse.
Neat.
you get put out to stud.
That's actually one of the endings you can have happen.
Nice.
That's thematically appropriate for the
Nice.
game.
So
Okay.
with our game here, like if we were to like do everything, roll up characters, assume we're gonna do like a tabletop thing. Like what would the like low level adventure be? Like what would be our first thing to do?
We would need to create some monsters that are a big problem for humans, but I mean, we need goblins.
Yeah.
Something that humans have trouble looking at, or maybe are just too weak to fight, but that a low-level adventurer has a pretty good chance of beating.
We could use our custom made spider horror.
Oh yeah, the spider. Riley, have we told you about the spider horror?
Nope.
Okay.
So you know about dragons, right?
Dragons? Yes, I'm familiar with dragons.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, which spider horror are you talking about?
The one that was just a concoction of all the other unused terrors.
Oh, okay. Go ahead then. You explain it.
Yeah, so one of the theories behind dragons and why they appear in a bunch of different cultures is because they combine a bunch of different fears that are kind of primal.
Oh, totally.
Like the lizard things are kind of odd. The wings are just kind of weird and scary and alien to humans. And breathing fire is just kind of innately scary, or not even sometimes scary, but it's just kind of transfixing. It occupies a special place in there. And
Also, they look sort of like snakes, which are venomous and scary.
Yeah. And,
I was actually thinking about this earlier
and
too.
then some cultures incorporate features of cats because they maybe they live near predatory cats. Like you can see that in Asian dragons, and some old art for European dragons. They
The claws,
kinda,
especially.
Yeah, the claws and like the way they're hunched because they usually aren't depicted sitting like how we would see a monitor lizard sitting on its belly.
That's true. They do sit like cats.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So we were like, oh wow, that's cool. What if we took another thing and just took a bunch of other primal horrors and linked it all together into, let's see, what else terrifies people? Right, spiders. Spiders scare the shit out of people. So one of our ideas for like our custom spider horror was to make a spider that like paralyzes you and constricts you, which is like an actual tiny little spider. The little spitting spider does that, but just imagine that, but the size of like a badger, and it shoots silk at you that constricts you, you can't move, and you're paralyzed, and then you're just eaten alive. And I can't remember where we went with it, but that was like the start.
I do.
Yeah, all right.
So the higher level, scarier version of that is, I was still picturing a small spider, but what it has is, it's got like brown recluse venom that necrotizes your flesh and dissolves it, but not really very potent stuff. the thing that makes it terrifying is that in addition to destroying whatever part of you is bitten, it gets you really, really high and is incredibly addictive.
Huh. I was picturing more like fear toxin, but
Nope. So people who are bitten by these spiders will look for nests of them and
oh
let
my
them bite them.
god.
And they all die the same way. They crawl into the nest and never come out.
Oh, that's some Junji Ito shit. I love it.
And so by dint of being what they are, pretty much every player class is immune to common toxins.
Yeah,
so like
no,
you
one
can
way
go
or another.
burn out a nest in there, find some loot of like stuff the spiders didn't need. That'd be like a cool,
Yeah,
cool
just
starter
like
thing.
the money of all the people who went in there to
Money
die.
spiders! We have money spiders!
That's what the players call them.
And
That's
I
their
think
word for it.
I think this is the creature that gets our point across the best. I mean, the
Yeah.
addictive venom thing.
Oh yeah, no. I
It's
like the fact
truly
that it's
horrifying.
not necessarily a really big spider, because one, small spiders are scary, um, and especially if there's a lot of them. And two, it's kind of like in the LARP that in like Legacies, they have the smaller but really really deadly things because it's an energy poor environment, kind of like Australia.
Yeah.
You have a lot of things that use weird, clever tricks to get you to kill yourself, as opposed to
Yeah, so that's
Oh,
like,
also you can collect venom from the spiders if you have an alchemist and sell it.
so
Ooh.
thinking of our setting here from like instead of like a game or writing a story about it, you could get some really deep, just terrifying stories about people. Like so, imagine the villagers. They know about a nest of these spiders, and they know that it's like amazing, and like some of them have been bitten before, and they want to go out there. And there's like this deep internal conflict of do I send them to go fight them? And like maybe one person has like a small nest that's like hidden his thing. And he like sneaks away every now and then. He has like these pock marks on his arm because he's like he's has enough
He always lets them
self-control.
bite the same arm and
Yes.
keeps it bandaged.
Just a little. And like maybe he has one of the horrors that maybe makes him regenerate, or maybe one of the paladins is corrupted because he keeps letting the spiders bite his tumors.
Oh, actually, I think so. I think random mutant should be a class because these people are eating bits of horror terrors, like
Oh,
they're
like the
fertilizing
fighter.
their crops with them.
Like the changeling fighter.
Well, the changeling fighter is just a guy who got picked up by aliens. I think actually maybe that's a potential backstory for random mutant,
Right.
but it's also just something that happens to people.
Yeah, so like kind of like bloodlines for sorcerers.
Yeah, it's like
We gave bloodlines to fighters.
except they're not
Makes sense.
necessarily genetic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like this guy has some limited regenerative ability, but not strong enough to go adventuring. He just can survive letting one of these spiders bite him and is constantly fighting his urge to crawl into a nest and be eaten.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Then of course you got to think of the like there's subculture that religion like has turned that into a religion. Like no,
Yeah.
you're not worthy to go into the spider den.
No, that's how the elderly sacrifice themselves. I no longer can contribute to the community. I will go to heaven.
You are released from your burden and are sent to the spiders.
And then periodically everyone's bitten on their Christmas.
Imagine like just the players like the high level like grotesque not allowed into the city anymore. Players just out and about watching. Oh, another guy is going to the money spiders.
Hang on, we can't harvest them yet. I haven't seen anyone walk in there who looks rich.
Yeah, they keep taking the money away from the old people. And I like that other town. They at least tried to bury their dead with all their belongings.
Yeah, I'm already in love with this setting.
Right?
Oh man, actually, what I kind of am thinking of, if you really like cut past some of the really really Japanese parts of Naruto kind of does this. I mean, if you think about it, they find someone who has a weird mutation, they cultivate it, and at least early Naruto, like the body horrors were like harvested from people, like the whole tribe of people who sacrifice their infants to bugs and have it infest their body, or
very
tribe-
early on, somebody had somebody else's eyes in their head and was using their powers.
Yep.
oh yeah, and then there's the guy with a bunch of eyes
Wait, does
implanted.
that mean that was his familiar? Whoa.
Yeah, all right. So
Canon accepted.
basically, mix Naruto's bloodline system with a bunch of D&D classes stripped of their flavor text and made terrible, and then throw in Lovecraft.
Yeah. And
checks out.
our custom-made horror spiders.
But
Or
don't forget
ecstasy by spiders.
Yeah, well, that is how we start the game, just so you understand what you're dealing with.
Ecstasy recluse.
You just have to fight the ex-recluse swarm, buy some torches, some lamp oil, and just pour it all in there,
Just
light it on fire, and then if you didn't make the check to know that you need to block smoke because this attracts the horror wasp,
Whoops! Then it turns from the explore the area mission to the learn how to run mission. You get to learn the running rules.
Yeah, you get to learn the you can't fight that aspect of this game.
Oh yeah.
I don't really know how you'd have to use like that's.
Well, see, this is why you have that face guy who could go into town that's like not one of the eldritch horrors. You're all faster than him.
Well, at level 1, you can still go into town.
I know,
You could talk to the paladins, the
I just like the idea of it's all eldritch horror, and so the one you have a hireling that you can bring along, and he will be sacrificed as soon as you need to outrun something.
Yeah.
You have ablative hirelings.
Okay. So just imagine going through this game. You reach mid-level and it's getting really hard to interact with townspeople now. Then you go to the Paladin City and they treat you like heroes.
Oh, that's kind of cool because it kind of keeps some of the thematic elements of a paladin intact even through this evil world in a way that's still creepy.
And not even just the Paladins. I mean, the Paladins are their favorite, but anyone who fights to defend humanity is acceptable in the eyes of this god. Or rather, anyone who sacrifices themselves to defend others.
Yeah.
So you go to this town and suddenly you're surrounded by a bunch of weird radioactive tumor monsters and people who worship them, but you're welcome here for short periods.
A major city in which can be used as a mid to high level trading hub is kind of cool.
Balmora.
It's more like Vivek, honestly.
The South Strider always goes to Balmora.
Well, it's Balmora in that it is home.
By default.
Or it can be anyway. Actually, I think most groups are probably going to be best off just establishing their own little nook out in the wilderness.
Yeah, that's where they killed their first money spiders.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
humans
now
need to
and
carve
then
out
they
their
find
niche.
a druggie looking for a fix, wandering through their stuff.
Get out of here!
Shoo!
Burnout spiders.
Wait, the warlock needs biomass.
Feed him. Are we any better than the spiders? Yes.
No, we're not. We don't get the same high from injecting our own blood into ourselves.
Are we any better than the spiders? I don't care. Well, yeah, the spiders kill humans. On a net value, we save them. I mean, we kill like 3 people for every 100 we save. I don't think the spiders save anyone.
I don't know. We really never studied the spiders. There we go. There's our main quest.
I don't know. I'm getting kind of cancery. I don't think I have time for a research project before I go.
Oh man, paladins going on their final crusade.
I think that happens to just everyone.
All right. So, final thoughts?
Well, we're going to need to flesh this out with a shit ton of horror monsters.
God damn it. Yeah, I'll take a look at some Junji Ito and see if I can throw a couple of monsters at you.
All right,
Hey,
20
do that
seconds
for a
or
future one.
20 seconds or less. What is Junji Ito?
He's a horror writer that does a lot of body horror.
Right, a name. Thank you.
Okay. Then yeah, body horror is a great place to start. We need especially low-level monsters because high-level monsters are kind of all the same. You know,
Yeah.
just look at anything that you need a basilisk tank to fight in Warhammer 40k, and you've got a boss monster.
Yeah. I like the thing, like, so the theme with the spiders, the ecstasy spiders, just that kind of thing, because that is not, like, a problem. Like, oh, it's a spider, just avoid it. But, like, just a little thing, like it bites you, and it's amazing. That's terrifying. Like, just so much far and beyond a normal spider. And you know
It's
how
a localized
bad,
issue, too.
Yeah, and you know how bad people freak out of spiders. So if you can come up with other just terrifying things like that, like, because honestly, I think like if we had a huge budget, we could bioengineer those. Like that is a thing that could happen, and that scares me.
Oh, also, another thing I wanted to do was incorporate existing fantasy creatures into this world, but then change them so they're terrible. Like the unicorn exists, but their horn is a link to their hive mind.
Okay. Go on.
So unicorns are, I don't know, like if you look beneath their fur, they're insects or something.
The unicorns have 6 legs, like Sleipnir? No,
I never
no.
noticed. Actually, the head is 2 legs held up like antennae. Sometimes it splits in half when it
No,
moves
or
them
they
apart.
open their mouth and they have mandibles.
Yeah. Don't horses already have men?
Whatever.
Well, in this world.
So I've never really been that close to a horse before. I don't know.
Also, there's a scorpion tail hidden beneath their brush tail.
It's just in, well, actually, yeah, unicorns did kind of have a goat tail when you could.
Sting of the unicorn.
It's like there's some local folk tale. Sting of the unicorn. Just another one of those things that right off the bat says, "This world's just a bit different. Thanks for playing."
Oh yeah, as an introduction, intro thing, if this were a video game, you see a dragon like swoop over a town, burning stuff, stealing cows, that kind of thing. Then it flies away, and a knight volunteers to go after it. And as he's riding his horse up the path, he rounds a bend and sees the dragon caught in an enormous spider's web, stuck between 2 giant rocks. And it's slowly being mummified by 1,000 tiny spiders.
Do they have a hive mind too?
No,
Oh.
they work together on a contract basis.
Oh, okay.
They have a union.
So they're capitalist spiders, right?
Yeah.
We never
they're
learned
a
their
giant
language.
Or hell, you just see the dragon in a spider's web.
Yeah, already cocooned,
like-
already drained. No explanation. There are no spiders to be seen. Be afraid.
Yeah.
Maybe the web itself drains
no,
life
wait,
force. Try
wait.
touching it. No, you touch
We
it.
already did spiders. What if you find the dragon up the path, on the ground, still twitching, and with its eyes clawed out by its own hands? It saw something.
Or was just abducted by aliens, you know.
It happens all the time.
Just a UFO chases the dragon away. And you see the
Okay.
little beam of light thing suck it up. Dragon says, "Help me!"
UFO sucks up the dragon. The UFO flies away, gets caught in a spider's web. A spider comes out to eat something. Then a sky whale swoops down and eats the spider. Then the sky whale is grabbed by Cthulhu.
Because it's like
The circle of life.
so it's a little horde of tiny spiders, and it's a baleen whale that just goes by like how it normally feeds on krill, just
Yeah, and then Cthulhu is crushed by that giant foot from the Monty Python sketch.
yeah, which is then captured by the town in a giant bear trap, and then they eat it.
Yeah, our plan worked perfect.
Circle.
That was a
of
Monty
life.
Python routine. The whole the cars jumping out and eating people, and they stop it by having a giant cat come and eat the cars. But at what cost?
All right. Well,
All right, I think that's it.
Yeah, that's good. I'm Kill the Quick.
I'm Dion and Stark.
You heard me.
You heard me.
I'm sorry, I was laughing internally. So we come up with a genuinely horrifying setting of horror for games, stories. I don't know. We'll make something cool out of
Probably tabletop, at least at first.
it. Yeah, but the point is, we got something good here, and we're no longer sounding bored.